I mean, I said 2 weeks before they shot Trump in Butler, I went on air and I said they're going to try to shoot him at a rally. I mean, that's obvious to see how desperate they were, how the lawfare didn't work. I mean, a lot of this is just studying how they operate. But I mean, so much of it now is John Podesta in August 2020, the New York Times wrote about it, had a big war game with the top Democrats. And they said if Trump wins, if they weren't able to steal it, in my view, then we're going to have civil war conditions. We're going to have blue states secede, blue cities, and we're going to use social issues to foment a rebellion that we're going to basically frame as racial, George Floyd on steroids, 10.0, and then we're going to drive Trump from office. Well, they were able to steal it, in my view. The evidence, I think, is overwhelming. So they didn't use that plan. Well, they started talking about that plan again in the months before this last election last year. So much of what I'm able to predict isn't really prediction. They admit it. I mean, the UN said for 20 years, we're going to use Disease X to bring in a global system, a global central bank digital currency, a global social credit score, a global vaccine ID that will be used as the global internet ID, global taxation ID. That's official Bill Gates, the UN, all these big bodies preparing how they'd roll this out. You have the Rockefeller Foundation with Operation Lockstep 2010, 2011, describing locking down the sports stadiums, locking your houses 6 feet apart, wearing masks for fear. I mean, and then Bush, George W. had that in the BioShield program that passed in 2005, where they sent out kits, millions of them to everybody, to the Red Cross with the 6 feet apart, with the mask, with all the stuff. But they didn't launch the bio attack scare that they had, I think, locked and loaded then. They waited till 2020.
So basically, you're just taking them at their word. You're just you're doing what I don't do enough, which is listen to people I disagree with and sincerely try to assess what they're saying. I mean,
Fauci just said last week, a much worse, way higher morbidity. It's respiratory, it's coming. And you got Hotez, oh, don't worry, Trump's going to have a big problem. It's going to come crashing in on him. We'll see how he tries to reboot the economy. And then you learn Fauci and all of them are involved with Obama and Chapel Hill and North Carolina creating COVID-19. It was a big scandal, 2015, gain of function, SARS. And then they move it to Wuhan to plausible deniability so they can kind of blame the Chinese if they want. I'm not saying the Chinese are good. The Communist Chinese are terrible. And it was kind of a joint project. And then they roll it out, and they've got their so-called shot that's mRNA. I mean, this stuff is all very well planned. And so when you see him up there lying going, no, Senator Paul, it is you that is wrong. No gain of function. Then it's in all his emails. This is gain of function. And he has public symposiums in defense of gain of function. And I mean, he's Mr. Gain of Function. If he was a superhero, he would just, have gain of function on his chest and the back of his cape. And then he's like, I don't know anything about that. And so, I mean, these guys just treat us like children. And so they kept saying, we're going to use a virus, we're going to use a scare to bring in our global government. I remember Lou Dobbs in Judicial Watch 2006 sued to get North American Union documents. And in it, they're meeting up in Banff, Canada, and they're like, we're going to use collapsing migration flow from a virus to flood the West and use that crisis to bring in a new Marshall Plan. We're going to use a Disease X to, finally get the world to accept this global government. So they're just scheming constantly. They have Event 201.
But in public.
In public. They have the SPARS war game 2025, 2028 that came out a few years before 2020 in the viral release that is actually set in 2020 to 2024. And it rolls out how they're all going to do it. The tweets that are in there are almost word for word. They just changed the name SPARS to COVID-19. So it's a blueprint. And then if they get caught, it's not a viral attack plan. It's just a war game. But the war game matches the exact rollout of the attack, so they're all on script.
So in a normal world that rewarded, excellence and prescience, you'd be a billionaire because of your predictive powers. I mean, huge companies, governments hire people who can piece together fragments of evidence to create an accurate picture of the future. That's a huge business. I know a lot of people in that business. George Friedman, guys like that, are really, really smart people. But you've got the best track record of all. And I think it's so telling that rather than reward you for this or call you up and be like, Alex Jones, you're like, what do you think's coming next? They're like, no, we must eliminate our own First Amendment to destroy your life, which is what they've done. That seems like a pretty clear indicator of their guilt to me.
Well, what they don't want is compartmentalize good people in industry and government